Hey everyone, I was wrapping up a closing earlier this week and I got into a conversation with the other realtor on the other side of the table and found out that she was a veteran as well. And so our conversation led me or reminded me of my experience buying a home on the first time using a VA loan. And one of the things I realized is that there was a lot of information that I just didn't know. All I cared about was, hey, they were going to give me $0 down and probably the lowest interest rate, and that's all I really cared about. But there's actually a few more things that would have helped me strategize a little bit better in the best way to utilize it. So I wrote down 6 tips that I want to share with you about your VA loan that you should know that will probably help you maximize its value. So the first tip, and one of the common questions that I get is, what is the certificate of eligibility and how do I get it? So certificate of eligibility is really just a statement that says that you qualify to use the VA loan benefit, and obtaining it's not really that hard. So there's 2 ways that you can get it. The first is you can get it on your own, depending on what your military status is. If you're active duty, if you're a reservist, if you're a veteran, a National Guard, there's certain documents that you'll need to prove your eligibility. So you'll gather those documents, and what I'll do is I'll put a link in below to show you all of the documents that you need. But you'll gather those documents, and you can either turn it in via mail or online, and they will verify all of your information and provide you with that certificate of eligibility. But the easier way to do it would be to let your lender do it. Your lender should have access to a database that has all the information they need to verify it. They may ask you for 1 or 2 documents, but that's it. They'll do all the hard work for you. So getting that certificate of eligibility is kind of the first step in verifying that you qualify for the VA loan. And then once they have it, everything else is pretty much like a traditional loan and pretty seamless for you. So the second tip is that you can reuse your VA loan. So I've had questions about, hey, well, I've used my VA loan on one house. Is that it? Do I get a chance to use it again? What if I want to buy a house somewhere else? The answer is yes, you can reuse your VA loan. So either you can, the first way is that you can, once you sell your home or refinance your home or pay off your home, once that mortgage is satisfied, then you have the ability to reuse it. All of your entitlement goes back up to wherever the maximum is, and you can reuse that again on your next home. But the second way that you can quote unquote reuse it leads me into my third tip, is that a lot of people don't realize you have a bonus entitlement or additional entitlement. So I know for the year 2020, the VA loans limits have gone up, and those limits are typically set. They are kind of at the same standard as the conforming rates. So I know in Georgia, our loan limit is at about $510,400. If you live in a more expensive area like parts of California or Alaska, then it's actually much higher than that. I think it's about $765,000. But if you buy a house that isn't at the maximum, say you buy a $200,000 house in Georgia, and you live there for a year or 2 or 3 years, and you decide, or you don't decide, hey, the military moves you, or you decide to move to somewhere else, and you don't want to sell your current house, you can actually use that additional entitlement. So if the max is 510 and you use 200 on the first go around, then you still have $310,000 left that you can put towards another home with $0 down payment and some of the best rates that you can get for purchasing a house. So yes, you can use that additional entitlement to on an additional home. So that's a very great tip. I actually used this when we moved. We lived in Florida, we bought our first home, and then about 4 years later we ended up moving to Georgia, and we were able to buy a second home while still owning that first home and renting that one out. And both homes were on VA loans. So that benefit is definitely there, and it's great to use. My next tip is you can buy more than the limit. So even though the limit here in Georgia is about $510,000, you can actually still buy a house more than that using a VA loan or having a VA-backed loan. The way you do that, or what you have to understand, is that in those conditions, you will likely end up having to put in some form of down payment. Now, the down payment will likely be a lot less than if you're using a conventional loan, but you're not limited. The house price is not limited to the max. That's just the most that you're going to get with that full $0 down benefit. So if you want to buy a $600,000 house, you can still use a VA loan for that $600,000 house. You'll just end up putting in some down payment with it. The next tip that I want to give you next kind of misunderstanding is that the VA does not actually pay for your mortgage. So the money I had a potential client, a buyer, who wanted to build a house, and they were going to use their VA loan to build that house, which they can do. But the process of custom built homes is a little bit different than buying a resale or a spec home in a neighborhood that's being built. And what they were concerned about, or what they were upset about, was that they were having trouble getting financing. And what they had to know is they had to put down some down payment on the front end, because the lender is actually the one that's going to be providing the funds to build that home. And then once the home is built, and then the construction loan gets refinanced, it will get refinanced into a VA loan. But their understanding was that the VA was the one that was going to give the money to make everything happen, and they were frustrated because things weren't working the way they were. Well, the VA doesn't actually pay money for the house. What they do is they guarantee the loan to the lender. So in the event that you default, you don't make your payments, or they have to foreclose on the house, the VA says, hey, we will make that lender whole, and then we will hold the entitlement from the previous owner until that house is sold. So it's just good to know that the money for your VA loan actually comes from the lender or the bank. It doesn't come from the VA itself. So you have that understanding or that awareness when you go shopping for your next mortgage. So my last tip is a really good one. I think it's for a really savvy homeowner. I wish I would have known this when I got my first loan. But it's that you can buy a small multifamily home with your VA loan. And when I say small multifamily, I mean anything from a single family home to a quadplex. So duplex, triplex, and quadplex. And why is this beneficial? Well, you can start building wealth using probably one of the best loans that you can get. And how would this look? Well, let's say you bought a small duplex apartment, and you decided to live in one side for 1, 2, 3 years while renting out the other side. Now your tenant is paying for your loan, your low interest rate mortgage loan. So in some cases, it may pay a good portion of your mortgage. It may pay more than your mortgage, but you've reduced one of your largest expenses. In addition, when the military moves you or you decide to leave in a few years, you can rent out the second side and double your income. And now you have an income producing property on one of the lowest mortgage rates that you can find, that you can hold for as long as you want. And so it's a great way to get your foot started in real estate investing and just building some additional income on the side. So that is one of the best benefits, I think, and definitely recommend utilizing, especially if you're single, or it's just you and your significant other, and you don't need a lot of space and you can live in a small multifamily apartment unit. It's a great way to start investing in real estate. So that's it. I just wanted to kind of go over those few steps with you, or a few tips with you about VA loans, clear up any misconceptions. If you do have any questions, please let me know. You can either write a comment below or message me or give me a call. I'd be happy to answer them for you. So you guys take care. Thanks for watching.